Good morning. Hi, I'm Pam Fox at pamfox.org and Quasi Yoga with Pam Fox here on Facebook. Well, welcome this morning. I'm going to be talking today about nutrition and plant-based diets and how extreme do we have to go with these diets? Like, how far do we have to take it to get to see the healing results and the health benefits? And I'm going to be sharing my 2 rules that I follow eating on a plant-based diet. In my last video, I talked about increasing your plant food intake. I talked about decreasing or eliminating man-made foods, and I included animal foods in that just because when animals are brought into this world, they're brought in as a commodity, and their life from the day that they're conceived until the day that they die, their lives are affected by mankind. So they don't necessarily live a natural life. They're given a lot of medications, antibiotics. They live in, sometimes small cages in factories, and so they don't live in what we would consider a natural life that an animal would live. And then I told you that you should be, eliminating or reducing, your saturated fats, hydrogenated oils, and trans fats. And so how far do we have to take that? Div asked a really good question last week about, first he asked me, well, what do you eat? And I was, listing off some of the things I eat, including pasta. And he was confused, like, pasta? Well, you said no man-made foods. That's a man-made food. And he's right. And so this brings me to my first rule of thumb that I follow on a plant-based diet, and that's the good, better, best rule. So good, better, best, when it comes to things like, we'll start out with fruits and vegetables. So obviously, when you're buying your fruits and vegetables in the supermarket, that's really good. You're going to be eating fruits and vegetables. Even better would be to buy organic. That's even better. And then best would be to maybe buy organic from a local farmer, something that's local, something that you can, ask the person, exactly how it was raised, and exactly, hey, you're back. Hi, Div. Exactly what goes into that. So good, better, best. Second would be wheat products. So we talked a little bit about this last week, and I wanted to expand upon, things like breads and pastas. So again, the good, better, best would apply to that. If you're buying, an organic whole wheat pasta, that would be good. If you're getting maybe an organic rice or corn pasta, that would be better. And then if you're making it yourself, that's always going to be best. So really just have to look at the labels and then and determine what's going to be best for you. I know some people, can't do grains, and they certainly can't do gluten, so you have to consider that. But apply that good, better, best. Same thing with breads. If you're going to be buying a whole grain bread, that's good. If you're going to get an organic, multi-grain, sprouted bread, that's going to be better. And if you're going to make it at home, that's going to be best because you can control everything that goes into that product. So good, better, best. When it comes to things like corn chips or corn tortillas or flour tortillas, flour tortillas I find is really difficult to find, a healthy flour tortilla. So you want to go to your refrigerator or your freezer section in your supermarket, or go to a health food store, or even order those. But your best, again, is going to be homemade. And we don't make our own tortillas. I mean, it's really simple. You can go on YouTube and look for a recipe. You can get one of those really cool presses and make your own tortillas. There's like 2 or 3 ingredients in tortillas. It's the easiest thing ever. But buy them in your refrigerator section. You can make your own corn tortilla chips. Really, really simple. You just buy a really good organic corn tortilla, cut it up with a pizza cutter, sprinkle some lime juice and sea salt on there, and bake them. They're good. They're not as good as Doritos, but they're good. Just make sure you don't burn them. What else? Nut butters. Same thing. Good, better, best. When you're buying things like peanut butter, really, really look at the ingredients. If it has that word hydrogenated oils in there, hey, Frankie, put it back on the shelf. No hydrogenated oils. Things like, Adam's peanut butter, but you even have to watch those. I recently bought, you want to be in my, good morning. Okay. With the peanut butter, the Adam's peanut butter, they have a new product called No Stir peanut butter, and I didn't realize till I got it home and looked at the label that they've added in an ingredient that I don't want to be eating that makes it easier to stir. So you always have to read your labels. But better would be, you can go in, some stores have where you can select your nut and put it through the machine and make your own fresh nut butter. And best would be, you know, to bring that stuff home and make it in your own, like if you have a Vitamix or a nut butter processor, you can make it at home and then it's fresh. So good, better, best. Meat replacements. So we talked a little bit last week about, excuse me, my nose is dripping all of a sudden. About meat replacements. So these are things like, you know, your tofu products, seitan, textured protein, textured vitamin protein. There's a bunch of stuff. Same thing, good, better, best. So these foods aren't necessarily healthy. They're not something I would recommend you eat a lot of, but they are great for people that are transitioning to a plant-based diet. Because you don't have to give up your meats entirely. You can have something that tastes, you know, similar to the meat, and some of them are very, 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 very good. So you can kind of experiment around with that, but eat them in moderation and look at the ingredients. For example, you know, mayonnaise and butters. Really look at the ingredients when you're buying vegan replacements for these. The good, better, best applies to that as well. Same thing with condiments. Really look at your labels. It's really hard to find a salad dressing that's healthy. There's going to be a lot of oil in there, a lot of sugar, a lot of times. So making it home is going to be best. And typically with salad dressings, I mean, you can go on YouTube and find tons and tons of, you know, vegan salad dressings, and typically they have 3 components to them. They have a little bit of fat, they have a little bit of fat, a little bit of tang, and a little bit of sweet, and that's going to be kind of your balance to make a really good salad dressing. I like to combine, you know, some homemade jelly with some balsamic vinegar, salt, and pepper. Makes a great salad dressing. Another one that I really like is, you'd have to look up the recipe on this, but it's a mustard syrup, maple syrup, balsamic vinegar mixture, but it's not equal parts. So you want to look that one up. That's really good as well. And then I make a ranch salad dressing that's got hemp hearts. Again, hey, good morning, Kim. It's got hemp hearts, which is your fat. It's got ranch spices, which are your, you know, your garlic powder, your onion powder, your parsley and cilantro and that kind of thing. And yeah, I'll get to that, Div. So hemp hearts, your garlic spices, and then a little bit of liquid like water or maybe some rice milk. So Div says soy is recently getting bad press. Japanese have been soy-based for years and seemingly are healthy overall. Yeah, you know, when it comes to a lot of this stuff, you really have to be diligent in your research because, and now I'm going to get really, you know, conspiratorially, oh, that's not a word. But you have to remember that when it comes to meat, dairy, and egg, these are very big, powerful, wealthy industries, right? Very big, very powerful, very wealthy, and they want to keep it that way. So when soy is on the rise, when non-dairy milks are on the rise, when egg sales go down, when milk sales go down, when beef sales go down, they've got to come up with ways to fix that, right? Because they've got to please their shareholders and they want to stay big, powerful, and wealthy. So they will come up with campaigns. They will pay for studies that will show that these, you know, soy products and non-dairy products, almond milk, you know, really bad news, really not good for you. So there's that, and then, you know, there are some soy products that aren't good for you. So you really have to be diligent in doing your research and then come up with your own decisions based on the research you've done. Personally, I do eat soy, but I watch, you know, the type of soy that I eat. And I don't eat a whole lot of it because I don't really find it's necessary on the diet that I'm on. I don't really find a lot of soy replacement necessary. So again, you've got to apply that. You've got to do your homework. You've got to read the labels, and you've got to apply the good, better, best rule. Good question, Div. So we talked about condiments. Making your own is always going to be best. And then fermented foods. So guys, there's a lot of new research being done about the gut biome, microbiota, fermented foods, and we all should be eating. There's a lot to be discovered about this, but one thing that that experts will recommend is to eat your fermented foods. So things like sauerkraut and kombucha. But the thing is, when you go in and you buy, like, say, for example, sauerkraut, you buy it on the shelf, you know, it's going to be cooked at high heat, it's going to be canned, so it's lost all of its, you know, beneficial probiotics. So then you go into the refrigerator section to buy that stuff, and you get a tiny little bag of sauerkraut, and it's very, very expensive. So again, good, better, best would be to make it at home. And it's very, very cheap, and it's very, very easy. Kombucha is very, very cheap and very, very easy to make as well. Just got to learn how to do it and start doing it, and then you begin to consume all that wonderful, beneficial, healthy probiotic. if you like fermented foods. Personally, I love them, so I absolutely love them. And then juices and smoothies. Again, you'll see some controversy. Should I juice? Should I smooth? I do a combination of both. I do a smoothie. This right here, not in here because I made a full blender, so it'll be 2 of these. I think there was 5 bananas, an orange, a couple blueberries, and then 2 cups of red grapes. So in your smoothie, you're going to get the fiber, but in the juice, you're going to get a lot of vitamins and minerals, because when you juice, if you've ever juiced before, you got to put a lot of food in that juicer to get, you know, a juice. Hey, Brenda. So they're both very beneficial. I do a combination of both. I don't live on fruits and juices. I do eat food, whole foods. But the good, better, best applies to that as well. When you go into the store and you look on the shelf at your juices, you've got to look at your labels. These are, if they're shelf stable, they've been cooked. So look at your labels, look for added sugars. Juices don't need added sugars. And then in your refrigerator section, same thing, look at your labels, but that's going to be good. Better is going to be in the refrigerator, and then again, making it yourself at home is going to be best, because you know exactly what's going in there. You can put organic produce in there if you want to. You know exactly what's going in there. And then finally, your animal foods. So last week I made the comment, you know, to eat more fruits and vegetables, decrease your saturated fats, hydrogenated oils, and trans fats, and decrease or eliminate your man-made foods. And I included animal foods in that one, which I know some people would say, well, that's dumb. But you have to think about it this way. You have to think about the majority of the animal foods that you eat come from a factory, which means they were brought into this world. Those animals were brought into this world as a commodity. So from the day they were conceived until the day that they died, there was interference in their lives by man. So, you know, they live in a factory, they take a lot of medications, they take antibiotics, they're given hormones. So that's why I consider them, they're not man-made foods, obviously, but in a way, they kind of are. So those meat foods aren't going to be as healthy as something, you know, that's, you know, hunted in the wild or bought from an organic farm. So the good, better, best applies to that as well. Now, obviously, if you're asking my recommendation, you should eliminate those foods as much as possible, if not 100%. But for some people, they find a lot of benefit just from cutting way back on animal foods. It just depends on where you're at. My husband is a great example for this. Like, he's really, really healthy. So when I told him I wanted to go on a plant-based diet, you know, he wasn't too thrilled about it, because we were going to be eating the same foods for the most part, because we live in the same house, we eat the same foods. But he was very supportive because I was really sick. But he didn't have anything really pushing him to go on a plant-based diet, because he's already pretty healthy. And so if you're pretty healthy, then you might not have something, you know, pushing you to try this diet, because, you know, it just doesn't seem urgent. But a plant-based diet is great for preventing disease as well. So, hey, Tony. So just getting back to the animal foods, good, better, best. Obviously, if it's going to be caught in the wild, that's going to be, you know, better than bought from a factory. If you're going to, you know, eat them in moderation or in small quantities, that's going to be better. And if you're going to buy, you know, things like, you know, eggs or dairy, if you're buying them from a farm where you know that they're organic, and that you know how they were raised and all that kind of thing, that is going to make a difference. Okay, so let's move on to my second rule, which is, the first one was good, better, best. My second rule that I personally follow is the 90-10 rule. So basically, because about 90% of the foods that I eat are whole foods, plant-based, then, you know, the other 10% can be more in the, again, the good, better, best. Maybe I'm in the good, or I'm in the better, best 90% of the time. So then 10% of the time I can be in the not so good. So for example, Dwayne and I like to eat out. We probably eat out, I don't know, 6 or 7 times a month. So when you go to a restaurant, you can't always get, you know, the best foods. There's going to be a lot of oil. No, Div, not for me, not anymore. So at a restaurant, you're going to have oily foods. Even if I'm ordering vegan, like maybe a seitan BLT, which is delicious and I love, you know, that would be in more of the 10% category. It's not something I eat all the time. So it's more like kind of your moderation thinking, although I hate kind of the whole, you know, everything in moderation mentality. If you're sick and you're in that moderation mentality, you know, I'll eat everything in moderation, and you're sick, Is that working for you? Is that rule working for you? I always tell people that if you're eating everything in moderation, then you're going to get moderate results. So if you're trying to heal your body and you're eating in moderation, then you're going to get moderate healing results. So maybe you need to try something different. But yeah, so, oh, cool. You guys like that. I like those thumbs up. That's fun. I'm kind of new to this. So yeah, that's the 80 or the 90-10 rule. And for some, it might be the 80-20 rule. Again, depending on you, where you're at, what kind of results you're looking for. Again, there's some people that really thrive on, you know, trying to aim for perfection, and that's what they like. You know, it's just all in, full throttle, I'm going to do this. And then for others, they know, you know, if I go on this plant-based diet and I tell myself I can't have that and I can't have that, I'm just going to obsess on it, I'm going to focus on it, I'm going to want it. So you kind of have to figure out which personality type you are and then go from there. Maybe you're going to do 70-30. Okay, so, but as long as the majority of the foods are healthy and they're supporting health and they're supporting immune function, you know, that's going to be a really good step in the right direction. And what I always recommend people do is to try a 30-day vegan challenge where you are strict for 30 days. Because when you do this, what people often find is in that 30 days, they will start to experience healing. They will start to experience the health benefits that they're looking for. And so that will motivate you to continue either, you know, with the strict diet or at least a version of it. Okay? And so the other reason I recommend trying a really strict vegan diet at least for 30 days is because the whole slippery slope philosophy. So if you just kind of go into it, you know, I'm going to do baby steps and I'm just going to do a little here and a little there. While that may help some people, you know, just adding in more plant foods, there's the whole slippery slope, and depending on your personality style, I know for me, if I say, well, I'm just going to have a little bit of this, you know, something that's, you know, not so good for me, maybe, you know, a candy bar at Halloween, you know, am I going to be able to just stop at one? Again, everybody's different, but yeah, you have to factor in the whole slippery slope. All right, so I think that's it. Good, better, best, and the 90-10 rule. All right, well, I hope you all have a fantastic day. I thank you so much for stopping by. Hey, Sabrina, you have to catch me on the replay. I hope you guys have an awesome day, and if you're watching on the replay and you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer those. Just type them in the comment sections below. All right, bye. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Tony. Have a great day.